With that. No, so maybe next week, if we get through all this today, next week I'll probably present my lesson, and then we can go back. Finally get done this Matthew. I've got like 2 more chapters after this. Okay. All right. So we'll deal with that. The lesson will be dealing with peace. All right. I don't know exactly the title, but it'll be dealing with peace. All right, beloved, let's go to Matthew 26. Y'all gonna be bringing it out today. Okay, read the board. Okay, shalom, sis. Shalom, everybody that is on today. And all right, so we're gonna go to Matthew chapter 26. Matthew 26. Whenever you get there, you can get started, brother.
And it came to pass, when Jesus had finished all these sayings, he said unto his disciples, you know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified.
So, anybody want to, I'm gonna open up to y'all for a lot of this. Anybody have anything? So for read the next verse, Brother Carr.
Then assembled together the chief priests and the scribes and the elders of the people unto the place of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas.
Okay. All right. As we read, so 2 days. So now it's given to something because Christ's been talking about it for a while about about dying, right? He's been telling the disciples here and there, you know, I gotta die, I'm gotta be offered up and things of that nature, right? But now it's getting close to that time, all right, where it gotta come into fruition. So he's saying that after 2 days, all right, is the feast of Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified. All right. So now it's giving us timestamps. All right. So after 2 days, feast of Passover, and the Son of Man is to be betrayed to be crucified. All right. So a lot of us already know the story. He is going to be betrayed. Okay. Then it talks about in verse 3. Then assembled together the chief priests, the scribes, and the elders of the people unto the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas. Okay, so we look at this. There wasn't everybody, right? It's being very specific who was coming together. Go ahead, brother.
Con, yeah, I was gonna say because verse 3 is it's a messianic prophecy from this is basically prophesied from in David in the Psalms, chapter 2, because a lot of people read this wrong, but it says, why do the heathens rage and the people imagine a vain thing? In verse 2, it says, the kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying. So this is talking about, this is a prophecy.
Give us the book. I'm sorry, brother.
Oh, I'm sorry. Psalms chapter 2. We're starting at verse 2. This was a messianic prophecy. This is when in the Psalms it was prophesied about what's going to happen to Christ. But the book of Psalms, when you read the book of Psalms, all these, it's a lot in there that's talking about what Christ is speaking and stuff like that. So verse 2, in chapter 2, it says, the kings of the earth set themselves and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord and against his anointed. So we know at the time the kings of the earth, people think it was always talking about Herod and them, and Pontius Pilate. But we know at the time the Pharisees and the Jews who were in like ruling at the time, in the sense of that the Romans gave them power to have their own council district, like rule themselves. These were the kings of the earth at the time. They the ones took counsel, because it tells you that back in Matthew 26, they assembled together the chief priests and the scribes and the elders. So they had that power to do that. So that was a prophecy that was already talked about. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, whenever you give something, let me try to get there just so everybody can see it. We all get a chance to look with you. All right. So we have them taking counsel, and this goes with a lot of things, beloved, when we're talking about, because you'll hear people saying, see, the Jews, you worry about the Jews, they hated Christ, they didn't receive Christ. That is not true. You can't lump everybody into it. It was the certain powers, the certain, the top officials, they were for it, right? Because that's how, if we talk about judgment and doing certain things, they had to okay certain things. But not even all the Pharisees and things didn't believe. What's the big proof? We got Nicodemus, right? Saying, you're a master of Israel, you'll know these things. He was coming, getting counsel from him, all right? So there was some people, there's always people that don't agree with things, but the ones that the chief priests and the other ones, they were the ones that were, of course, had enough influence where they could go through with it. Okay. All right, that was, yes, we had 1 through 3. All right, let's do another 3 verses.
And consulted that they might take Jesus by subtlety and kill him. But they said, not on the feast day, lest there be an uproar among the people. Now, when Jesus was in Bethany at the house of Simon the leper.
Okay, hold it. So what do we learn here? What was their mission here? When they came together and they consulted, what did they agree upon regarding Jesus and killing him? What did they agree upon?
They wasn't going to take him on the feast day.
That's one. They weren't going to take him on the feast day. And what's the other aspect of it? Something else. Everybody see it? So they didn't want to take him on the feast day. And it was another way they wanted to get him. I'm trying to say what I'm saying.
Subtlety.
Subtlety. Anybody know what subtlety is dealing with? Anybody know what subtlety? Say that again.
The scheme or trick.
Is it scheming?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So they wanted to be slick with it. Right? This is why they're saying, I don't want it on the feast day. They consulted that they might take these by subtlety. They tried to do trickery. We want to take them, without, people noticing like that. We want to kill them kind of in secret. Why? Because there was a lot of people that were deeming him as a prophet. Someone was referring to him as the king and all those things. They didn't want no big problem. They knew how to maneuver with their people. They're like, listen, we got to take this guy by secret, by subtlety, and kill him. And it says, but what? They said, not on the feast day. Why? Because that wouldn't be smooth. That would be a big old thing. At least there'd be an uproar among the people. So they did not want to uproar. This is why they wanted to take him in subtlety. Okay. So now we got, says Jesus in Bethany in the house of Simon the leper. Okay. If anybody got anything, just get off of mute, raise your hand or whatever. Okay. All right, brother. 7 and 8.
There came unto him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, to what purpose is this waste?
All right. So now we got this woman, precious ointment supported on his head as he sat at meat. One of the other ones, I believe, said he poured it. I'm not going to look at the other account, but the other account might have said either she put it on his feet or her head. What was that? Say it again.
No, I was asking, are you talking about with the one where the account where she put it on his feet? And she wiped her hair, his feet with her hair afterwards.
Yeah. So nonetheless, it don't change anything with it, right? The point is ointment was put, but sometimes we read different gospels. Sometimes it might, give a different perspective. So if one say the head, it could have poured on the head and then, put on his feet too. All right. So there was a problem with this, right? What was the problem in this situation? Not with us, but we say some of the disciples, they had a problem with this. Why did they have a problem with this? Your volume low, sis. You say that again? Nice and loud.
I said because the ointment could have been sold for much more money.
Yeah. They had a problem. They saying, listen, why this woman, that's expensive ointment you put, she's wasting on his head and his feet. We could have sold that and got some money for it. Whether it was for themselves, for the gospel, whatever, right? They're looking at the monetary benefit of it, right? So they had a problem with it. And I want y'all to realize that these disciples had some issues, all right? They're growing in this stuff too. So they was filled with indignation. This wasn't just Judas. It says when his disciples, right? So it wasn't just Jews that had the problem. That indignation saying, to what purpose is this waste? And I think one of the other gospels said it was Judas, all right? So Judas could have been one, but it like it can be more than just Judas, all right? So they're like, this is a waste. You're wasting ointment on, his hair and his feet, All right. Did we read verse 9? No. Since Danielle talked about it. So yeah, let's give it verse 9.
For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor.
So we see the purpose. So it wasn't somewhat selfish what they were saying, right? I want you to understand it. It wasn't a selfish act. He's saying, listen, we could have sold this and gave this to the poor. Some of the disciples are probably thinking like that. I ain't going to say what Judas exactly was thinking, but they had a good reason. And listen, we ain't just wasting it. You use that, sell that, and give it to the poor. So at least they were thinking about someone else or the needy, okay? Which is a good thing to think about the needy. Verse 10.
When Jesus understood it, he said unto them, why trouble ye the woman? For she hath wrought a good work upon me.
Mm-hmm.
For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always.
Read the next one too.
For in that she had poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial.
All right, so what could we learn from those 3 verses? Anybody see anything? Anything come to mind with 10, 11, or 12? Anything come to mind with 10, 11, or 12? So even though they were talking about giving it to the poor, Christ was saying, "Why? What are y'all doing? Why y'all messing with her?" It says, "For she have wrought a good work upon me." This is a good work that she is doing towards me. Why? He's saying, "For ye have the poor always with you, but me ye have not always." And this even can play prevalent to this time. It's good to think about the needy. We are instructed to think about the needy, right? But Christ comes first for that, okay? And he's saying, listen, she's realizing this. She's coming and she's showing appreciation to me and what I came to do. Listen, you're going to always have poor people. That's one thing I tell you. Don't think, I don't care. It's always set up. You're not going to take care of all the poor people. I know we got charity, and it's good to have charities and do things like that. But he's saying the poor you're gonna have what you always. You're always gonna have somebody in need. But he's saying I'm not always gonna be here. Okay, some of them might not caught that, but he was still indicating I'm going to be leaving soon. They weren't. Some of the disciples weren't getting it. Weren't understanding. Okay. But it says, for in that she have poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. All right. So she had this ointment saved up. And we know when Christ died that they did, our custom, we'll give the spices and the ointments and everything for that. So she saved that for that burial time, but she actually showed that appreciation while he's living. Something we can learn from, appreciate people while they're living. Everybody want to show all the appreciation, give all the flowers when somebody's on their deathbed or dead, right? When they dead, they ain't know nothing. It does nothing. Don't get all caught up in that. You show the love and appreciation while they live, while they can hear it and take it in. Okay. All right, but that could be another lesson. Let's go to verse 13.
Verily I say unto you, wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall be also this, that this woman have done, be told for a memorial of her.
That's a strong thing, beloved. They talk about all this, the Bible's against it. They don't protect, they don't say nothing about women and this and that. And, just been, Christ commanded that this be in there, right? Wheresoever this gospel shall be preached in the whole world, there shall also this, that this woman have done, be told for memorial of her. Okay. So he told him, don't let this act be known. Okay. And so this is why they have it written in here. All right. Let's keep going unless somebody has something. Oh, brother got something. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah. For what I feel, I think that that this is like shown because the gospel, we're supposed to believe in Christ's the Messiah's death, burial, and resurrection. So to show that they knew that the Most High was showing that he was showing the people that he actually was going to die. Some people say he didn't die, he didn't come, he didn't rise. So this shows that for her putting that oil on him and the spices, I know different accounts say different ways. Like, Matthew got her putting it on before. Then you go to John and said they was going to do it after, and he wasn't there and stuff. But it shows that they knew he was going to, some knew he was going to die because they did the spices for a ritual, you can understand, because they didn't believe in embalming. And they did that for the sake of when they put them inside the grave and stuff in the tombs, that their body wouldn't just stink and rot to the point where it goes too bad. So that's why I believe that he's saying this should be a memorial of her. That when you're speaking about his death, burial, resurrection, to say, look, he actually died because they did a ritual that was going to show that somebody was going to die. That, only because they knew that she had to understand that he was about to die, to know his body, so when they wrap him in that linen, that he won't stink. But I think the thing is, some of them didn't actually believe that he was going to rise again. And that's why when you go to other accounts, Mary Magdalene, they was going to the grave, the other women to go do the oil in, because I guess they didn't know maybe that the women already did it, because they probably didn't think he was going to rise. But it's to show that he really had to give his life up and die physically, but spiritually, no, he came back. Well, he didn't really die, but physically, earthly wise or naturally, he died. So I think this is why it's good this is why he's saying that, because it's showing that he actually did what he said. He was going to die and rise again.
Good point. And yeah, they weren't, they didn't believe. As we look on, even disciples did not believe he was coming back, right? Which, we look at it and remember, this is real time. If somebody, even a great teacher, can come and everything, you hearing, yeah, he's gonna come back, and but sometimes you're not really hearing it, right? You ain't really understanding. But yeah, they didn't believe. Some others may believe, but disciples, even though they was around them, they did not truly believe in everything that he was saying. I lost my place. I'm sorry, beloved. Are we 14? Yes, I think it's 14. Brother Kai, you on mute, so don't read till you unmute.
Thanks. Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went unto the chief priests and said unto them, what will ye give me? And I will deliver him unto you. And they coveted with him for 30 pieces of silver.
All right. So we see Judas Iscariot went unto the chief priest, right? Chief priest, remember, they was all trying to find a way. They like, listen, we got it's 2 days before the feast and everything. We got to find a way to get this guy. We got to do it slick. And what? Satan got into Judas Iscariot's heart and went and what? Went to the chief priest to help him out. Okay. So they covenanted, they made an agreement for 30 pieces of silver. There is some references with the pieces of silver. I won't go into it. I'm gonna look more into it, but there were certain things that was bought for pieces of silver. There might be some correlations you might find with the profits with it, but we know that's the price. Okay, 30 pieces of silver was the price of betrayal for Judas. Okay, you read 16?
No. And from that time, he saw opportunity to betray him. Now, the first day of the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the disciples came to Jesus, saying unto him, where wilt thou that we prepare for thee to eat the Passover?
All right. So won't go too much in it, but that first should be before the translation thing. But it says in verse 16, and from that time he sought opportunity to betray him. All right. So Judas was, when he came back after that agreement, all right, 30 pieces of silver, you help us get him. Judas was thinking about when is the perfect time to get him captured. Okay. So this was something thought out, doing something spare of the moment. It didn't even seem like he knew exactly how it was going to come about. Okay. But he said from that time, he was seeking how he was going to get him betrayed. All right. So now they're coming, prepared at what we for thee to eat the Passover. Verse 18.
And he said, go into the city to such a man and say unto him, the master saith, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at thy house with my disciples.
Mm-hmm.
And the disciples did as Jesus had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover.
Okay, so they set him up. Christ told them what to say to the person, because they didn't have a particular house, right? They always moving around, so they had to get a certain spot during this time. Okay. What was that, verse 19?
Come.
And we all good? Good. All right, verse 20.
Now, when the evening was come, he sat down with the 12.
Mm-hmm.
And as they did eat, he said, verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me.
All right. So now he's going now. Now Christ is making it kind of plain. He's saying, listen, somebody going to betray me. All right, while they all eating. Verse 22.
And they were exceedingly sorrowful, and began every one of them to say unto him, Lord, is it I?
Mm-hmm. So everybody's contemplating, is it I? And remember, when you're going and dealing with it, remember, Christ is always giving parables and things of that nature. So some of them probably didn't fully even know the betrayal, what it would be, right? Is this something figurative? Is this something real? Like, so they're all just questions of like, is it I that, am I the one that's going to betray him? That they're thinking about this. Read.
And he answered and said, he that dippeth his hand with me in a dish, the same shall betray me.
So he gives a sign. All right. Look at the person dipping his hands in the same dish as me. That's the person that's going to betray me. Okay. Now, beloved, it still had to be, and they have, I've seen a little custom that they show, only two people will dip in it and everything. And it should have been obvious. It might not have been as obvious as some people making it, apparently. Right. So I don't know if all of them technically was dipping with him. If he's, I don't know exactly how it's going, but he's saying somebody that's dipping with me is the same one that's going to betray me. Okay, so he gave them somewhat of a sign. Verse 24.
The Son of Man goeth as it is written of him, but woe unto the man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born.
All right. So he said, the Son of Man goeth as it is written of him. Meaning it was already told that this was going to happen. He's been saying it the whole time. Okay, so it's no shock that he was going to have to die. It says, but woe unto that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. Okay, so warning to that man that's actually going to betray me. It has been good for that man if he had not been born. It's better that your mom never, conceived you and what you're about to do. Okay. There is a scripture in the Old Testament, I believe the Psalm, that talks about when I sat with me to eat bread or whatever, going to, turn his heel up. So that's even prophesied that one of them, somebody close to him, is going to actually betray him. Okay, so that shouldn't even been a big mystery. All right. Verse 25.
Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? He said unto him, Thou hast said.
So you got to play it off, right? You got all those people in there. Judas like, listen, is it me? Am I betraying you? Like, you know it's you. Thou sayest. And that's where people get that. Thou sayest. All right. So another thing, if Judas was sincere, he could have stopped it right there. And God give us the same kind of opportunity. Before we do something tell us, But nonetheless, let's see if he listened. Verse 26.
And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave to the disciples and said, Take, eat. This is my body.
All right. So when we look at this, beloved, don't get caught up on the actual bread aspect of it. The blessing turned it into something spiritual. Okay. So that's why when we go, even when we come together during this time, what we do, as we're eating, we take the bread, right? And we bless it. So remember, we pray, bless it, and then we break it and give it to disciples, and we give it to everyone. This is where we get it from. All right. And it says what? Take, eat, this is my body. So now we should kind of understand when Christ was talking before, remember he said, y'all going to eat of my flesh and drink of my blood. Now we know what he's talking about. Because remember, he can't break the law. If you eating somebody's flesh and drinking their blood, that's cannibalism. That's against the laws of God, and Christ don't break them. So he was speaking figuratively in representation that y'all going to have to consume me. And this is one of the aspect that he's talking about, but really it's deeper than this, but he's given this as a starting point, I will say. All right, take, eat, this is my body. 27.
And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, Drink ye all of it.
All right, and now he's giving them a cup, doing the same thing. He gave thanks, or blessing it, and what? Drink ye all of it. All right, because you have to. In fact, let me stop. Why do you think he said drink ye all of it? Why do you think he said drink ye all of it? Throw it out there. Why do you think he said drink ye all of it?
Because you can't take some of him. You can't just it's basically saying like in Revelations, like being lukewarm. You have to take this full cup. If you decide on taking this walk, right, and believing in him and the Father, and saying you're gonna, take on this cup, You gotta drink all of it. It ain't no, I only want half, let me get a sip here and there. Nah, he's telling you, drink, eat all of it. This is something you can't play with. That it's like when it says scripture, paraphrasing it, a man who put his hand to the plow and looked back not fit for the kingdom. So he's telling him, you taking this cup, drink all of it, because you can't just sip this or take half of it and say, you know what? Now I don't want to do this because you ain't fit for the kingdom.
Oh, great point. Drink you all of it, consume all of it. And we understand, what does the blood represent in the scriptures? Throw that question out there. What does the blood represent in the scriptures? Because there's a lot of blood.
Life.
Blood is referred to the life of something. Okay. So when you see it, you understand why they was doing, killing lambs and all that stuff, the blood and everything. The blood is the life. Okay. So when you're consuming his blood, then drink all of it, you have to take all of me. Right. A lot of times you see it, and, when we look out in this world, people are trying to take pieces of Christ. Right. All right. Well, we know we shouldn't steal, but, we ain't going to do the Sabbath part. We won't kill. We'll do that part. But, we're going to commit adultery with our neighbors. But no, see, you ain't drink all of it. You trying to drink some of it. You're doing what you want. And really, we have understanding you're not even drinking some of it. But I'll keep it on that surface level. So we need to consume everything. The prophets, he said, eat the whole roll, right? You need to take all of this. There's no such thing as a 50%. There was a church song that says 99.5 won't do. Right? You got to, if you're going to be a believer, you have to believe. There's no half belief. Either you believe or you don't. Either you serve God or you don't. All right, verse 28. Let's get some understanding.
For this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins.
See why we need all that? Because that thing is cleaning up sins. Okay? So his blood was shed for many, not all. If you ain't trying to serve God, don't worry. That blood was for the people that wanted to get cleansed so they can get back to the Father. So it was shed for many for the remissions of sins. Verse 29.
But I say unto you, I would not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom.
All right. So once again, he's saying, this is my last time. So when you got here, when he's saying this, he don't drink of the fruit of the vine. Okay. Now people going to argue and go to when he's on the cross. All right. What did he drink on the cross? I won't even say what. Vinegar. All right. So it didn't say he wouldn't drink nothing or anything. It didn't say that. He said, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until the day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. Okay. Anybody got anything so far? Forgive me if I'm going a little fast. All right. Verse 30.
And when they had sung a hymn, they went out into the Mount of Olives.
Mm-hmm.
Then said Jesus unto them, all ye shall be offended because of me this night. For it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what do we see here, beloved? What do we see here? So the first thing is they sung a hymn. So people get singing and giving, praise the Most High. We got them that they all sung a hymn, and they went to the Mount of Olives. The Mount of Olives looked like that was one of their meetup spots, their famous meetup spots. Okay. But it says, then said Jesus unto them, all all ye shall be offended because of me this night. We got to keep that in our head. Why were they all offended this night? All right. And he's saying, why y'all all gonna be offended this night? Because what? It is written. So I know it got to come to pass. I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad. All right. Somebody tell me, who were the sheep of the flock that were scattered? So my wife said the disciples. Okay. Who was the shepherd?
Jesus is the one good shepherd.
Okay. See how very clear. I want to go on far. Just stay right in context. All ye shall be offended because of me this night. Because it's written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered. So that's how the offense happened. When they kill Christ, they're going to be scattered. And we'll see this even a lot of times nowadays. You'll see sometimes you have a teacher, and sometimes the pastor or something that, maybe, you've been under for all that time and he died, and some people just start leaving the congregation. Some people are connected to the leader, which is normal and happens and everything, but you got to make sure it's beyond that, right? Don't just get fascinated because this person speaks good and everything, and then once that person dies, your relationship with God dies or decreases. All right, we don't want that, right? But nonetheless, it happened. Verse 32.
But after I am risen again, I will go before you into Galilee.
He gives. Why is that a big clue? Because a lot of them, Brother Chiskael said it. He said a lot of them didn't believe, right? So he's telling you what? But after I am risen again, I will go before you into Galilee. So he's telling you, I'm going to rise. Y'all going to be offended because I'm going to get killed. But I'm telling you, I'm going to get killed, but I'm going to rise, and I'm going to what? Go before you into Galilee. All right? Meet you in Galilee. But even though he's saying this, they still didn't believe. We're going to see that later on. I don't think we're getting in this chapter, but chapter 2 from now, you're going to see that they didn't believe. All right, let's keep going.
Peter answered and said unto him, though all men shall be offended because of thee, yet will I never be offended.
All right, so what's Peter though? I love Peter. When you look at the scriptures, you gotta love Peter. What is Peter saying here? What is Peter saying here? Go ahead, brother.
God. Well, see, when you're reading this, Peter, the love that Peter had for the Messiah was like no one else's. Peter really loved him. And the thing is, Peter had a lot of zeal because he was like, it's like, for example, it's like when you with your ruler, like, let's say, for example, you had a friend or somebody that can fight real good. Imagine anybody know boxing, Deontay Wilder, he a knockout artist. So if you with him out in the streets, you're gonna have some kind of confidence because he a knockout artist. Like, man, I ain't worried about nothing, but it's like, then bring it back to here. Peter is with the Messiah. He knows who he is. He knows that this man is powerful, really. So Peter is like, oh, they might get offended, but not me. I'm never going to offend you. I'm never going to get no distrust in you because he was with the Messiah. Peter did have a lot of zeal, but then you're going to keep reading, you're going to see what he meant by when he told Peter, you're going to deny me 3 times. Because now, as Mike was saying, explanation, like, like Mike was saying that verse 31, when you're going to be offended at me, because once they start seeing that Christ is getting taken away from them, they're going to get offended, meaning they're going to start, like, thinking others, like, they ain't going to have that confidence anymore. And that's what Peter's doing. He's still with him. But until Peter see him taken away, then you're going to start seeing when Peter start getting that distrust, like, man, like, this really happening, and that's what it is. Can you imagine walking with Messiah every day? You with this man? You probably had the biggest confidence in the world if you could actually see him. But we don't actually see him. But we gotta have that trust now where, you know what I mean? But they was actually with him. So Peter was like at that point where, oh, ain't nothing, I'm good. But once you see when he's taken away and they don't have him anymore, that's why I still gonna get offended, because they're gonna be scattered because they don't know what to do. Because they Messiah's been taken from them. I digress.
No, great point. And that's very important to realize, right? When something there, it's easy to have it, right? It ain't really faith because they got him right there physically, right? And you seeing this guy, like, you know what I'm saying, doing these miracles, all these things, you're like, man, I'm good. I ain't worried about nothing. What the brother brought out, but when he go, how would your faith be? Right? When you with big brother, you have all the confidence in the world, but when he ain't there, now we're going to see where your faith is at. Okay. So brother Peter, the brother was sincere. People try to sometimes taint it and say, oh, well, no, the brother was sincere. Okay. And he's saying, listen, they're going to be offended, but I'm not. Because in the carnal sense that we understand it, he loved Christ. Right? Now listen, they're going to be offended. I'm always going to be with you. I'm always going to have your back. I'm never going to be offended with you. Okay. And he really meant it at that time. Okay. What verse we at?
Verse 34. Jesus said unto him, verily I say unto thee, that this night before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice.
All right. So Christ bust that bubble real quick. He said, yeah, I hear you. But before the cock crow 3 times, you're going to deny me. I'm sorry. Before the cock crow, you're going to deny me 3 times. All right. One of those numbers 3, right? Bear witness. Okay. So you're going to deny me 3 times. All right. And it's not throwing a shot at him. He's letting them know. Okay. Verse 35.
Peter said unto him, though I should die with thee, yet will I not deny thee. Likewise also said all the disciples.
All right. So this is why I say you got to read, because everybody throw Peter under the bus. But what do verse 35 say also?
Likewise also said all the disciples.
They were all getting on there. And they meant it at sometimes you mean something until the test come. They meant it at that time. Listen, we ain't going to deny you. We've been with you. We've seen the things you're doing. We've been doing miracles on your behalf because you gave us. We're not even thinking. We'll never deny you. What are you talking about? Peter was just he was the gun-ho. He will jump out on that faith and always, do that. Right? Just makes him special. All right. But he's saying they're all like, yeah, we would never deny you. Okay. But we'll see. Verse 36.
But just to add on to that, at that time, Peter took out his knife and he was ready to fight. He sliced off an ear. So he was serious about it.
And that's one of the points. I didn't say it yet because we were good to it, but yes, that's why I say Peter wasn't just saying this because it sounded good. To our standards of putting your life on the line, he did do it. He literally should have died when he did that. So but what Christ is talking about was different than that, right? But we'll get to that. We'll get to that. But great point, brother. Verse 36.
Then cometh Jesus unto them unto a place called Gethsemane, and saith unto the disciples, sit ye here while I go and pray yonder.
All right. So he tell them, sit there. I'm going to pray over there. Read.
Okay. I found this on the web for what is the disciples sitting.
Hold on, you're muted. I'll mute yourself real quick.
For some reason, security came on, so lock you. Okay. It says, and he took with him Peter and 2 sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy.
All right. So he told disciples, sit there, I'm going. But then we see that what? He taken Peter and the two sons of Zebedee. Okay. And it began to be very sorrowful and very heavy. All right. So this is a different side that they probably didn't see when it comes to Christ. Okay. He's sorrowful and very heavy. Why is this? Let's keep reading.
And he went a little further.
Nah.
38.
38.
Then saith he unto them, my soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even unto death. Tarry ye here and watch with me.
Why is Christ sorrowful even unto death? Why is his soul feeling sorrowful? Why is he heavy at this time? Anybody knows? I don't want to hear from the brothers. I want to hear Brother Kai or Chizkiah or Rodney. Why is his soul feel exceedingly sorrowful? Don't think too hard. All right. My wife's saying because he don't want to die. Beloved. Something to show. Remember, he's in the what? Flesh. That flesh, our flesh, do not want to die. Okay, so even he was showing what? He had to press past that. So this is what I'm saying. We're seeing this. This is good because we get to see it. So when we are feeling a type of way where our flesh is getting, the type of way, we have to press like he did. Okay, but he was in that flesh. That thing was crying. That thing did not want to die. Okay, let's keep reading. Verse 39.
And he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt.
All right. Anybody got anything from that verse? That's a heavy verse. Okay, Mother Val.
Yeah, even though he didn't want to die, he's to the end. He was still going with his father's will, whatever he wanted.
Good.
He was going to go through it.
Good, perfect. My wife was saying the same thing in the background. He didn't want to die, but he's still going to go through with it. Okay. Same thing with us, beloved. There's certain things that's going to make us feel uncomfortable, certain things we are not going to want to do, but we have to what? Press on. Okay. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, Khan. So it's a spot in it's in Hebrews chapter 5, because remember how we know in Hebrews chapter 12 where it talks about the father chastises you as a son, he who he loves. So he sent his son to take a chastising and to suffer, because when he's doing this, it's for it teaches you obedience. This is what we see in Hebrews chapter 5. That's what it's talking about with Christ. Verse 7, it says, who in the days of his flesh, this is when Christ is in the flesh, when he had offered up prayer and supplication with strong crying and tears unto him that was able to save him from death. He knew his father could have changed his mind and said, nah, you ain't got to do it this way. So, like Mike said, the Messiah was in flesh. At that moment, it's like he knew what he had to do. He knew he was going to rise again. But think about it. If I tell you or anybody on this panel, on the Zoom, like, yo, I want you to do something. I'm going to make sure you come back. You're going to rise again. You're going to be this great king and all this. But you got to go over here. You got to get beat, stabbed up, beat down, punched on, kicked, and go through all this pain before you leave. And our mom, we're going to say, well, I'm going to come back. I'm going to be this great king. And I want to do it. But then you're going to think, man, I got to go through all this before I go. Think about it. We don't like needles. We don't like to get hurt now. So, and it says, I'm going to finish reading. And it says, and the tears unto him that was able to save him from death, who was the Father. But it says, and was heard in that he feared. Though he was son, yet learned his obedience by the things which he suffered. And then it says, and being made perfect, he became the author of eternal salvation unto all that obeyed him. So this right here speaks on that. At that moment, even though he was the Messiah, and he was the word in the flesh and all that, he had to suffer something, and he knew, and when you in flesh, he had to really come to like, man, he had to go back to the Father, like, and like, yo, you sure? Like, I mean, I know I gotta do it, but can you do something a little different, maybe? Because you know what I mean. So, but he still listened, like Mama Val said, he still said it's your will. So I'm here for it. Okay, bro.
No, great point. And it says what he learned he obedience, right? Because some of us not obedient. Obedience is, or know how to be a servant and everything. You don't question, you just do. Right? So he's saying we learn obedience is because this was something he didn't want to do. The flesh didn't want to do that, but I'm going to do it because you said so. Right? A lot of things we serve God when it benefits us, when it ain't no big deal. Like, oh yeah, I'll do that. You know, that works in my schedule. Oh, that ain't no problem. But what about it don't work with you, your schedule, or something you comfortable with? Are you still going to do it? That's going to show the obedience, right? So a lot of us serve God for all the good things and the blessings and all that stuff, but are we serving God no matter what? And when we serve him, when it's something even against us, that's obedience. That's when we're learning that. Okay. Great point. All right, let's go back to Matthew 26, unless somebody had something. All right. Great point, brother. That's a good scripture for that. So let's go back up. Fell on his face, so you're allowed to fall on your face, right? You can pray that way. There's different ways to pray, right? And prayed, saying, "Oh, my Father, if it be possible, let the cup pass from me." So he's using that reference of a cup. Okay, I think the disciples, I think the sons of Zebedee was talking about that. He was telling them, "Are you ready to drink the cup that I drink of?" Right? And they said, "We're able." He's like, "Y'all don't even know what y'all asking for." And they ain't talking about no cranberry juice in the cup. No, he's talking spiritual. Are you ready to take on what I got to take on? Right? What I got to accept. And that's that torturing and the things he's about to go through. So he said, if it's possible, let this cup pass. But nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. Okay? And a lot of times we got to realize that. You don't change God's mind in a sense. We think, oh, well, if we fast, we're going to change, what the scriptures say. That's not how it works. When you fast and praying, it's so that you can accept God's will. All right? All right. Let's go to what verse we at, brother?
Verse 40.
40. All right. Read 40 and all right, read the next two verses.
And he cometh unto the disciples and findeth them asleep, and saith unto Peter, what? Could ye not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. The spirit is indeed willing, but the flesh is weak.
Another great passage. So he come back, he's praying. Remember, it's late. He findeth them asleep. So disciples, he brought them three, Peter and the two sons of Zebedee. They're asleep, and he saith unto them, unto Peter, what? Could ye have not watched me 1 hour? And sometimes we get frustrated at people that don't even kind of deserve the frustration. Right? He going through this time, and this is something that we can learn, beloved. When you going through something, sometimes you put it out on other people. Right? And that flesh getting fearful and all that, it started backlash. So he's like, Peter, you can't watch me 1 hour. You can't stay up 1 hour. I'm telling you to watch what I'm doing. You can't stay with me? And we're going to see that it changes. In verse 41, you read, watch and pray that ye enter not into temptation. So he's telling them, you need to be up here watching me and you need to be praying because temptation is coming. He said, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. And sometimes, beloved, that's how it is. Sometimes our spirit is willing, but our flesh is weak, but our spirit can override our flesh. Most High, give us that spirit that it can override that flesh and what the flesh want to do. Let's keep going.
He went away again the second time and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, thy will be done."
Read that again for me.
He went away again the second time and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it, thy will be done."
Does it sound like the same prayer, beloved? Does that sound the same in verse 42? When the second time and prayed. Same thing. Father, cup passed from me. And he said, except I drink it, thy will be done. Okay. So he still understand that I got to do this. I'm praying and everything to you, but I understand I got to do it. Why? Because it's written and his word cannot come back void. Meaning it has to do what it says. He said, he already been telling the disciples, I got to die. He even told them who's going to be coming and doing it. So when Christ is praying, it's not that he really escaping. He already understands that I have to go through this. All right. But he's showing that war that Paul talks about between the flesh and that spirit. Some of us going through that war. Some of us are dealing with that war. We know what's right. We know what we got to do. But that flesh is just not trying to, let that spirit have its way. But we have to override that flesh. What is saying, John? Greater is he that's in me that's in the world. Okay. All right. Let's read verse 43.
And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. And he left them and went away again and prayed the third time, saying the same words.
All right. So this is for because some people we talk about is it Matthew 6 talks about prayer and saying a vain repetition. So some people believe that you cannot say the same prayer, right? You can't repeat it because it's vain repetition. We have to have understanding with that. Read that verse 44 again.
And he left them and went away again and prayed the third time, saying the same words.
So he used the same words. This is 3 times in a row. Okay. So it's not wrong if you're praying for something more than once. Okay. It's a little deeper than when they talk about vain repetition. Okay. But he's getting on, well, we're going to see. Let's go to verse 45.
Then cometh he to his disciples and saith unto them, Sleep on now and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners.
All right, something happened this third time. What is different after this third prayer? How do we know something happened? I'm making a claim. Something happened with this third prayer. Why am I saying that? Read that verse 45 again.
Then cometh he to his disciples and saith unto them, Sleep on now and take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners.
Y'all see that transition of the spirit? What was he complaining about the first time? I don't know if y'all heard my wife in the back. Go ahead, Mother Val. Mother Val, you got your hand up?
Yes. At first he was complaining that they were sleeping on him, and now he's saying to go ahead and go to sleep and take a rest. Time was coming.
Absolutely. See, it's not the words per se he's focused on. He had to get that mind right to accept the Father's will. Sometimes we're so overly focused on the wording. I gotta sound a certain way. That's why he's saying, y'all using these vain words, you're trying to use these big words and thinking because of that, God's going to hear you. Christ's showing you, I'm using the same words all 3 times, but something happened from the first time to this 3rd time. The first time he got up and he still focused. What you doing sleeping? Get up. You don't see this. But that 3rd time, something happened. And now he's like, you go ahead and sleep. I'm not even worried. You go ahead and sleep. The time is at hand. I'm ready. Okay. So beloved, I want to say, make sure our mind, our spirit is submitting ourselves to the will of God. It's not always the words that's the problem. Rarely ever the words. But it's that heart. And that time Christ got up and he is like, he got that armor on. He's ready. All right. Sleep on now. Take your rest. The hour's now. I'm about to be betrayed. All right. Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Okay. Let's keep going.
An example of, vain repetition. I can't think of the book, chapter, and verse, but it's with Elijah.
2 Kings.
When the heathen, they was calling on Baal from morning to afternoon. I mean, that's hours. That's an example. They calling on him for what? 3-4 hours. We don't know, but that was a long time they was calling on their God. So that's an example of it.
Yeah, I think morning to midday, and I think a little bit after midday.
That's a long time.
And some of that, just giving you references, they weren't even calling on the God that they should be calling. So all that's vain in a sense. But yes, just going down there and say, God, and just keep going. Because what does that show, beloved? Right? He's showing something. If I got to keep asking you the same thing over and over and over and over again, apparently I don't believe you hear me, or you're not doing something as quick as I should. You think it should happen and all this. So that's why I said, don't use vain repetition. God hears you. And when you get understanding, he said he hears you before you even open your mouth. All right. And he said, I know what you have need of. So there's certain context. So things that we're asking, don't just keep asking the same thing over and over, day and hours. Either he heard you or he did. Okay. But yes, brother, yes. Hours on hours, they was just just calling for nothing. So absolutely. What verse we at?
Verse 46.
Okay.
Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that doth betray me. And while he yet spake, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came. With him a great multitude with swords and staves from the chief priests and elders of the people.
Read that again, because everybody got it as the Romans did this. Read verse 47. Let's see who is doing this. Who's betraying them? Who's the hands of the sinners that Christ is talking about? All right.
And while he yet spake, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves from the chief priests and elders of the people.
So the chief priests and elders, they had this conspiracy with Judas. So we read another count. It will say, I think it says Satan or the devil got to the heart of Judas. He got up and he went out. They didn't think anything of it. I think only the Pastor John tells you what they thought when Judas left. Anybody remember that? Let me see if we got any scholars on here. What did they thought Judas was doing when he got up and left?
Going to get something for the feast.
The feast, or he's giving stuff to the poor. So that was their two things. They seen him get up, but he was actually leaving to betray him. Okay. Now listen, beloved. If they had any knowledge that Judas was going up to do that, he would have never made it out that room. Tell you right now. Don't let them paint no picture. We about to see what Peter about to do to them now. But if Judas, that's why Christ had to speak in code when he's doing all this stuff. Because if they had any clue that Judas was about to betray him, they would have pounced on him. All right. And Christ would have used a miracle to back them off of him. But Christ knew he got to go and do his thing. So that's what I want you to understand. Even though he was praying, he already knew what was going in motion. He already knew what Jesus was going to do it. He was going to do. Okay. So they're coming, the soldiers with Judas, and they have sent by the chief priests and the elders of the people. So I want you to realize it was the hierarchy of the Jews that were going to do this. All right. Verse 48.
Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, whomsoever I shall kiss, the same is he, hold him fast.
All right, so this is Judas. I'm going to give you a sign of which one to get. All right, so whomsoever I kiss, that's who you grab. And he said, grab him fast. You got to get him quick. Once I do it, hurry up and grab him. Let's keep reading.
And forthwith he came to Jesus and said, Hail, Master, and kissed him.
And this must have been something, like I said, this is something that's normally done, right? When you they greet with a kiss and all that stuff. Hail, Master, do the flattery. That's why you shouldn't all be caught up in flattery sometimes, because some of the biggest betrayals come from flattery. All right. Hail, Master, and kissed them with the expression of love, a kiss. Verse 50.
And Jesus said unto him, Friend, wherefore art thou come? Then came they, and laid hands on Jesus and took him.
I love Jesus. He went right into act like an actor himself. Friend, he know he's betrayed. He just told you,
right.
You get ready. He was like, at the time, go ahead and sleep because I'm about to get betrayed. But he's still not giving them the inkling that Judas is betraying them. Christ still loved him. Don't get it twisted, beloved. He still loved Judas. Wherefore art thou come? He said, where you coming from? He already knew he coming from betraying him. All right. So they laid hands on Jesus, and they took him. All right. So now they captured him. They got him captured by the assist of Judas. Okay. 51.
And behold, one of them which were with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew a sword and struck a servant of the high priest and smote off his ear.
All right. Anybody know what disciple this was? Because it just says one of them that were with Jesus. So that can narrow it down to a disciple, maybe.
It was Peter.
All right. Peter. Okay. Good job. So Peter went and sliced off the high priest servant's ear. All right. I don't know if it's in this account, they give his name. I think it was like Malchus, something. I can have that word.
Malcolm.
Okay. So like I said, go to different accounts and you can see little other details. All right. So he cut off his ear. Beloved, you cut off a soldier's ear, you better be prepared to die. Right? So in the sense of, and I like to give the practicality and, keep it realistic on a certain level, Peter was ready to die once he did that. That act. You go ahead and shoot at an officer now. You don't even got to hit him. You go ahead and shoot and actually hit his ear off. What you think he's going to do? You think he's worried about trying to get you in custody and handcuff you? No, that would be death. Okay? But he didn't understand what Christ was talking about with this. All right? But we'll get to it. Let's keep going. So he cuts the servant's ear off, 52.
Then said Jesus unto him, Put again thy sword into his place, for all they that take the sword shall perish with the sword.
So he's like, that's not how I want you to do it. You're missing the point. You want to defend me in this way. This is not the betrayal I'm talking about. All right. So he's saying, put up the sword, put it back, Peter. Read.
Thinkest thou that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he shall presently give me more than 12 legions of angels?
He's saying, you think you think you're doing something with cutting one of their ears off? He said, listen, if I wanted to get rescued or anything like that, you don't think I can call my Father and get, he said, what, 12 legions? I can get an army of angels down here if I need to be saved or spared.
That's right.
That's not, I got to fulfill what my Father told me to do. And this is what shows greater power, beloved. When you got the power to do something and withhold from it. We talk about this all the time. We deal with people. We have the power sometimes to curse somebody out, right? You got the power to do that. But the great power and restraint shows that I got the power to do it, but I'm not going to do it. All right. So Christ is like, put it up. Listen, if I needed protection or anything like that, I would have asked my Father. He would have sent 12 legions. All right. Verse 54.
But how then shall the scriptures be fulfilled, that thus it must be?
Oh, there we go. He's saying, listen, if you stop this plan, that's going to mess up scripture. That's why I'm not praying to my Father to get the angels around there, because it's going to mess up the scriptures. I know I can do it, but no, the scriptures have to come to pass. This is the Father's design for us. Well, designed for me. Okay. So that's what had to happen. Somebody had something?
Yeah, and to give you the magnitude of what Jesus was saying, a legion. If you go back in Kings, I think it's 2 Kings, one angel killed, I think, over 100,000 people. So if he's saying he's going to call a legion, imagine, just to give some depth to the magnitude of what he could have done.
Absolutely. One angel can fix any army, can beat any army. All right. Absolutely. Verse 55. Verse 55.
In that same hour said Jesus to the multitudes, are ye come out as against a thief with swords and staves for to take me? I sat daily with you teaching at the temple, and ye laid no hold on me.
Mm-hmm.
But all this was done that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled. Then all the disciples forsook him and fled.
So when we see this, like, listen, why y'all coming at me like I'm some big old robber or thief and everything? Like I'm some criminal, right? He said, why y'all coming out like that? He said, but I was always with you. He said, I've been in the temples and all that. Y'all ain't think to lay hold of me there. We know that. Why didn't they do that? Why didn't they take hold of him in the temple? Think about what we read. Why didn't they take hold of him in the temple? Would have caused a scene, my wife is saying. Remember when we read, what was it, verse 3? Or 4, whatever, right? They consulted that they might take Jesus by subtlety and kill him. We don't want to cause an uproar. We want to do it secretly. That's why he's saying, y'all coming like I'm a criminal. Like y'all have to get on, coming unaware, like the SWAT team coming to the house and y'all acting like I'm some criminal. Listen, I've always been a temple to everybody. Y'all know me. Y'all know where to find me. I wasn't hiding, right? But he said all this was done that the scriptures or the prophets might be fulfilled, right? So at this time, they what? All the disciples forsook him and fled. They said, oh, we ain't fighting. We got to get out of here. And this is what Christ is talking about, right? We can fight back, right? But this is not what he's talking about, laying your life down. Peter wasn't willing to lay his life down for it. You can fight and be, you in the journal of fight, you can lose your life. But if you just laying your life down, that's a whole different animal, okay? All right, verse 57.
And they that had laid hold on Jesus led him away to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the scribes and all the elders and the elders were assembled.
All right, but say no all in there. All right, so they taking them to Caiaphas and them, right? There was the soldiers, now they're taking them there. Let's keep going.
But Peter followed him afar off unto the high priest's palace and went in and sat with the servants to see the end.
So Peter loved him. He's trying to see what's going on, right? Keep reading.
Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witness against Jesus to put him to death.
Why did they have to get false witnesses?
Because they had nothing to accuse him of.
Correct. They had nothing to accuse him of. And why did they need the false witnesses as well?
Because according to the law, you needed witnesses.
You need a witness. By 2 or 3 witnesses, every fact established, you need 2 or 3 witnesses before you can condemn somebody. They knew they couldn't find 2 or 3 good witnesses, right? So they had to get some false ones. But they were still, I want you to understand, when people say, oh, they was doing the law, and this is why God came, because the law came, they weren't doing the law correctly. The law don't say grab 2 false witnesses. That tells you something right there. If I got to find a false witness, that tells you the person ain't guilty. They were not doing the law how it was supposed to be done. They were maneuvering it and using it to benefit them a lot of times. Okay. All right. So they got the 2 false witnesses. And this is to put somebody to death. Definitely, you need the witnesses to put somebody to death. All right. Let's keep going. Verse 60.
But found none. Yeah. Through many false witnesses came, yet found they none. At the least came 2 false witnesses. At the last came 2 false witnesses.
So they was having problems finding false witnesses. And it's just showing you how much they hated him. Even false witness, it's bad when you got people that might sell you out, for a dime and say, nah, we don't want to do it with him. They even had some little sense, right? But I'm going to show you how wicked this hierarchy was. Chief priests, and they hated Christ so much for speaking the truth. They're going through their whole catalog of false witnesses. And that's dangerous, beloved, when you got false witnesses so available to you. That shows you what they were doing. Okay? But they finally found 2 false witnesses. All right? You needed 2. You can't just have 1. You got to at least have 2. Verse 61.
And said, this fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and to build it in 3 days.
Okay, so they're messing it up, but he did say that, but they messed up the understanding behind it. All right, we talked about this a few weeks ago about the temple that he's talking about. All right, was this dealing with the natural temple? What is he talking about with this? Because he did say
his body.
Okay, he was talking about his body. Okay, they was thinking he was talking about the actual temple when he's doing the sacrifice and everything. He was not referring to destroying that. He already told you a time is going to come where that's going to get destroyed. Okay, verse 62.
And the high priest arose and said unto him, answer thou nothing? What is it which these witness against thee?
Okay, so they're like, listen, you ain't going to say nothing? What do you got to say against this? Okay, verse 63.
But Jesus held his peace, and the high priest answered and said unto him, I adjure thee by the living God, that thou tell us whether thou be the Christ, the Son of God.
So we see once again, right? Jesus held his peace. Beloved, everything don't need a response. Definitely when it's dealing with foolishness, right? This ain't the first time that he had to hold his peace. Anybody remember the other time? Anybody remember the other time he held his peace? At the first, I would say.
Talking about with Pilate?
No, because that's coming up. But yes, Kai Chi to get y'all the future one. But yes, that is another. There's another one. There's one before that he held his peace before. He eventually talked after it, but he held his peace initially. With the woman that was caught in adultery. Right? They came to him and he was just They tell him all this stuff. He was writing on the sand and everything, right? Sometimes when you're dealing with all this false, you don't even need to comment on certain things. Some things don't, remember, our words hold weight. Okay, so sometimes you don't even need to entertain somebody saying some fools. Sometimes it's better if you just don't entertain it, because a lot of times if you're dealing with wicked people, when you open your mouth, what they're going to do with your words? They're going to twist it and mess it up. You see that on TV and the social media. Y'all see it all the time, right? They'll show a little snippet, put it on there, and then you judging off of the little snippet that they put. And then if you actually care about hearing the truth, you might find the actual video that has everything. And sometimes that changes the whole thing. So sometimes Christ is showing his wisdom. I'm not saying nothing. You got false witnesses. You know what I mean? I'm not even here to entertain that. Okay. But he held his peace. The high priest, like, what? You don't got nothing to say? You ain't gonna defend yourself? And then he says, I adjure thee. Listen what changed things. Listen what the high priest said, because he is the high priest. I adjure thee by the living God, that thou tell us whether thou be the Christ, the Son of God. A lot of people don't grab that point. So he's saying, listen, I'm commanding you by God, all right, by what you call your Father, Jesus, that thou tell us whether thou be the Christ, the Son of God. You need to tell me the truth as God is the witness. That's verse 64.
Jesus saith unto him, thou hast said, nevertheless I say unto you, hereafter shall ye see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and coming in the clouds of heaven.
All right. So Christ got to put that sword in there. He got to twist on that second part. So he's saying, you said it. You know, because the thing is, you know what I said. I want you to grab this, beloved. The witnesses are talking about the temple part. Listen to what the high priest asked. He ain't asking about the temple part, correct? He's saying, tell us if you the Christ or the Son of God. He asked a whole different thing. Because that was the concern. That's what he's trying to get him with. But he's saying, yeah, you said right, I'm that. But I'm also going to tell you, I'm going to be sitting on the right hand of power, coming in the clouds of heaven. Christ went futuristic on him. People that's in the, some people could receive it, but a lot of them probably went right over their head. All right. Verse 65.
Then the high priest rent his clothes, saying, he has spoken blasphemy. What further need have we of witness? Behold, now ye have heard this blasphemy.
Mm-hmm. So he's saying, listen, we're going to, and that's what Christ's doing. Christ, like, I know I got to get killed and everything. I'm going to let you know. So now he's like, you know what? This guy, you heard out of your own mouth what he said. He's going to be coming, sit on the clouds, the right hand, everything. We don't need no more witnesses now. We hear the blasphemy ourselves. Read verse 66.
What think ye? They answered and said, he is guilty of death.
Mm-hmm. Read.
Then did they spit in his face and buffeted him, and others smote him with the palms of their hands, saying, prophesy unto us, thou Christ. Who is it he that smote thee?
All right, so now they're getting a little ridiculous. I want y'all to realize how we are. We always say, oh, we're the people of God and everything. I want to show you how we were and how we treated him. That wasn't Rome doing that, and that was us doing this. So they said he's guilty of death, and they started spitting on him. They buffeted him. Remember, it was already prophesied that he has to go through this. And others smote him with the palms of their hand. They get slapped. And I ain't talking about doing little love taps. They smack him like he's a blasphemer. Now, y'all better thank God I wasn't his son that had to die for y'all, because that would have been it right there. Yep, nope, forget it. Angels come, right? But he was showing humility. Brothers and sisters, he was totally innocent. Some of us are guilty. I say, let me make it plain. All of us are guilty. This brother did nothing in going through this. So when we crying that we going through something, we deserved it. Probably not for this time that we're going through it, but somehow we probably reap something we did. But Christ took it. That was humility. That's our king that they doing like this. Okay. So they beat him up and everything. And then they saying, prophesy to us, thou Christ, who is he that smote thee? Okay. Hopefully y'all understood what that's saying. You know, if you understand one of the Old Testament, I'll probably go through that chapter before. This wasn't the first time something like this happened with us. There was another prophet by the name of, what's his name? Starts with the M. Forgot his name now. But they smacked him and said, where the wind blow. Okay. It was during the time where it says, you know, it was when they was going to war and saying, you know, the prophet don't speak good of us. And he came and told them basically they're going to be destroyed. And they were mad at him and they slapped him and saying, who slapped you and everything. And he said, in that day, you'll know. But some of the same stuff. That was one of those taunting things that we do. You a prophet, you know, which one slapped? He getting all these slaps and hits from people. Which one to slap us? You know, you of God, tell us which one. All right, so it's a mockery going on. Verse 69.
Now Peter sat without in the palace, and a damsel came unto him, saying, thou also wast with Jesus of Galilee.
Mm-hmm.
But he denied before them all, saying, I know not what thou sayest.
Right, one. Remember he said, how many times did Peter have to betray him? Deny him.
Thrice.
All right, so you go deny him thrice. So that's one time. See, he tough when he had that sword on him, but now you can't fight the sword. Like, And what is Peter witnessing? He's witnessing now Christ getting popped and beat up.
Right.
That might change your face. See, they wasn't seeing Christ getting popped and beat up before. They seen him escape through the crowd. They seen all this stuff he's getting out of it. But now they got him. They hitting him. It's connecting. And he's like, man, I'm not trying to get that treatment. All right. So Peter was like, nah, I don't know him. Nah, never seen him in my life. Verse 71.
And it was a lot of them too. It was deep.
Now listen, I don't know if y'all ever seen a witness. You see somebody get jumped and everything.
Yeah.
Some people, even their own homeboy.
Yeah, they balance.
You know what I mean? There's no point of us both getting beat up like that. You know what I mean? Let me call it back up. So Peter like, I got to sit back and take this L, right? So he denied him once, all right? Verse 71.
And when he was going out into the porch, another maid saw him and said unto them that were there, this fellow was also with Jesus of Nazareth.
All right, so he done escaped one and now he ran into another one. All right, what happened?
And again he denied with an oath, I do not know the man.
You know how we say, I swear to God, I don't know him, right? Because Peter seen the heat turn up. He's like, man, I escaped one. Now it's somebody else saying it. If people get wind of this, I'm about to be done. So he's
they were like, on God.
God, yep. Exactly. They're like, God, I don't know that man. I never seen him a day in my life. All right, I'm legally blind. All right, verse 73.
And after a while came unto him they that stood by and said to Peter, surely thou also art one of them, for thy speech bereaveth thee.
Yeah. So he said, we can tell by how you're talking you was with them. Okay, I don't know exactly what they said. I'm not sure, right? But he's saying your speech even betraying you. You can't deny that you was with them. Verse 74.
Then began he to curse and to swear, saying, I know not the man. And immediately the cock crew.
And see that temperature get turned up, right? He had to really listen. I want you to understand. Everybody look like, I wouldn't did. Listen, Peter is seeing this stuff happening to his leader. And these people got one person, you was with him. He escaped that. Now somebody, you was with him. I know you was with him. Now you got this third person. He's like, yo, chill out. I don't know this dude. I swear to God. And he's cursing. He's letting them know because he's fearful. He knows how we are. When our minds made up, we'll put you to death quick. Don't get caught up in what we seeing now in the world. Our forefathers put somebody to death quick. It was nothing to pick up stones and stone somebody. So he's really trying to, no, I don't know him, stop. Okay? But it says right after that third time, cock crew. All right? Read verse 75.
And Peter remembered the word of Jesus, which said unto him, before the cock crew, thou should deny me thrice. And he went out and wept bitterly.
So then it came to his mind of what Christ told him. And it wasn't a thing where that he was trying to hurt Peter or anything. He wants you to know that Christ is a prophet, right? He prophesied about this. So it was realization. Christ wasn't mad or going to hold it to him that he did this, right? He already knew you're going to do this. Okay? So of course, when he realized, wow, I actually denied him. He told me I was going to deny him, and I was animate about I would never deny him, and dang, I denied him. So he just felt the pain of that guilt, and he wept out and left. And this goes even with Judas, because a lot of people feel like, oh, well, Judas betrayed, that pressure and everything from it. He came, I betrayed him. But Peter, he felt he betrayed him too. Right? So still with it, Christ came to die. He still could have forgave them. All right. Unfortunately, brother Judas took his own life. Okay. Yes, sister, that's the name, Micaiah. Yes, that was the name that I was referring to. Okay. All right. So we will end it there. That's the end of the chapter. There's a lot of verses. That's why we're moving a little smooth with it. Did we have any questions with that chapter? Okay. So it's good to be confident in God, beloved. It's good to be confident in God, but don't get cocky, right? But just something, a lesson learned. You can be around the people of God. You can be around the church and all those things, right? But it's different from being around it in it. Okay, they was around Christ. They was around that teaching all that stuff, but you got to buy into it. Okay. All right, beloved, we will leave it there. No, brother, what you got?
Oh, no, I was gonna say, with the Peter account, and even with those disciples that said that they left off, they got scattered because, you think about it, you only as strong as your leader. You know what I mean? Like your leader makes the gang strong. Let's be real. Like you can get, your leader makes it strong. So it's like when they see their leader, which they say, oh, you're the son of God. You know what I mean? They know they didn't see this man heal. Peter done walked on water with this, all this stuff he done did, and now you see your leader getting beat down. It's like, when you watch movies, when you see a leader of a gang, when you see him get a little soft, and you'll see the other person that's maybe underneath him come up behind him, and be like, yo, you getting soft. So you only as strong as your leader. So when they see their leader getting beat down and snapped on and hit, and they looking like, man, he getting this done to him, and they're doing it to us too. So just like with us, we know we got a Father up in heaven and we got Christ. We know our Father and Christ is strong. We know they got powers to do anything. So we never saw Christ, right? We never had laid eyes on him, but we gotta have that spiritual connection where we know that that's how we walk around today. We're supposed to have no fear. We're supposed to have no fear in knowing that, we have our leader up in heaven that's going to fight for us down here. So, but when you imagine this song, God or Christ getting beat down, that's going to make you feel the type of way like, yeah, I don't know what's going on. But you're going to see as you read on, Christ came back, where he's going to come back. He's going to reassure them. He's going to, especially Peter, you're going to see where he reassured Peter and, to give them back their confidence, that to go out and do their job. So that's all I digress.
Great point. Great point. Yeah, all of them would have denied him in that sense. It wasn't just Peter. They weren't ready. They didn't have the power of the Holy Ghost with them at that time. Now, after Christ, when they preached all that stuff, it'd been a different story, right? But at this time, even though they was under it, that's why you need that spirit. But yeah, that's a scary scene. And like you said, before they're thinking they're invincible, right? We've been around Christ. We've been in some situation and everything, but Christ doing all these things. But now it's like, whoa, he's not trying to save us. Like, this is real now. We could, it can change things. All right. Yeah, we serving God when things are going well. But what about some of the things that, we used to start falling apart, but we still serve him, right? It's easy to talk confident, you got your job, everything going well, but what about you got to make a decision and you're going to lose your job? How are you going to be then? Right? Would that change your faith?
Yeah.
Would relationships change our faith? Right? That's why it says, nothing shall persuade me from the love of God. Well, Paul was saying, right? So make sure we stay strong, beloved, no matter what the situation is. All right. We will end it there then. All right. Shalom, shalom. We'll end it there and we will close out. And then we'll open it up for anybody that have any questions, comments, concerns, anything along those lines. All right.